Brett Brown has led the Philadelphia 76ers through a long and sometimes arduous process that tested the limits of what Sixers fans were willing to trust. Out of that wilderness, they drafted two young superstars who routinely enthrall us with displays of talent that overwhelm their opponent. While Joel Embiid does it by mixing the traditional big man role with some outside shooting, Ben Simmons has had to find ways to adapt his game as a lead ball handler who simply cannot shoot the basketball outside of 8 feet. And despite this, he still fills up the stat sheet and threatens a triple-double every night. But more and more teams have been instituting the Simmons sag, backing off him so much that it's starting to have an effect on their overall offense. This was well documented last year against the Celtics as he was rendered almost unplayable, and not much has changed since then. But first, let's start off looking at what does work well for him in their offense. Using Simmons as the ball handler in the pick and roll is viable since he can get into the lane with quickness and power. Here's Spain pick and roll, where Redick is also back screening Embiid's man. Switching this like the Celtics do means a guard is back there to stop Simmons, and he can simply elevate with his unorthodox righty jump hook floater. And giving him so much of a cushion isn't a bad thing if you want to stop Simmons himself in the pick and roll, but when Embiid sets it, look how far in the lane Horford is. No hope to recover in time to stop Embiid on the roll. And setting screens is very effective. He's big and physical, and because his man tends to sag so much, he can open up quick three balls when the help is out of position like this. Another great way to get good shots is to post him up and let him use his size and passing ability to skip the ball to open three-point shooters. Unfortunately, the Sixers have struggled a bit to make them, but these are all fantastic shots. Simmons sometimes is too much of a passer when getting into the lane, but he gets plenty of dump-off passes to cutters for close-in shots, and we need to see more of this type of aggressiveness. His biggest value is in transition, where he can push the ball up fast, then find trailers for shots like this decent look for an Embiid 3. And off the ball, he's very good at pinning a smaller man under the hoop and waiting for the pass to finish off the easy shot. As a finisher in transition, particularly when he's handling the ball, he struggles mightily. According to Synergy, he's in the 31st percentile with the ball on the break and a league-worst 28% turnover percentage. At high speeds, he tends to lack visual recognition of where defenders are, crashing into them and relying on the whim of a referee to decide if it's a block or a charge. He is an equal opportunity turnover machine, throwing away passes like these, where it feels like his unwillingness to be aggressive as a scorer clues the defense in to be ready for the pass. And he will try and force things that simply aren't there rather than pull it back out and set up an offense. He can get going too fast on the run and lose the dribble in equal measure. He is often late recognizing defensive positioning and reacting to quick lunges at the dribble, or simply just losing control at such high speeds and squandering advantages for the offense. That said, when you factor in assists on the break, Simmons suddenly jumps to the 85th percentile, as his unselfishness and focus on setting teammates up is able to overcome his penchant for turning it over. And I'm not here to ignore that they're currently 4th in the Eastern Conference and most likely will finish no worse than 3rd. A successful season without question. But it's time to look at how Simmons' lack of perimeter game affects the Sixers in the clutch against good defense to get a sense of what might happen when they get to the playoffs. Overall, the Sixers' net rating is plus 3.1, which ranks 10th in the NBA. But in the clutch, which the NBA defines as the last 5 minutes of a game when the point differential is 5 points or less, Philadelphia's net rating plummets to negative 3.6 and a 20th ranking. For some context, here are some other playoff teams and how their net rating changes in the clutch. You can see 6 of these teams stay in the vicinity of their overall net rating rank, but the Sixers, Thunder, and Rockets have all suffered at the end of close games this year. Now let's look at Simmons' usage rate and what happens at the end of these close games. Overall, he's 3rd on the team at 21.7, which is pretty healthy, playing alongside Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler. However, watch what happens in the clutch. Simmons' usage percentage drops to 15.8. For some perspective, it's lower than Boban and Amir Johnson. Of course, those two haven't played in many clutch games, but still. We're talking about their point guard, not a role player relegated to the last option in every set. Let's look at what certain teams have been doing to defend a guy who won't shoot outside of 7 or 8 feet. The Blazers employ the Simmons sag all game, and watch Aminu keep backing up until there is no space for Simmons to get through, poking the ball away. Check how much room Harkless gives him, daring him to shoot the jumper. Again, they're waiting for him at the dotted line, people, and Simmons can't seem to do much against this. The Warriors do the same to him, and Draymond patiently waits for him to put it up and then blocks it from behind. Notice how they don't pick him up on the break either, backing up into the lane until the passing angle is closed and the ball is stolen. The bigger issue isn't getting Simmons to shoot, it's how his man can help on everyone else to stop shots from going in, as Jordan Bell does here because he can so freely ignore Simmons. Here, Iguodala ignores Simmons in order to contest this JJ drive into a miss. It's almost comical where Harkless is on defense, and because he's not worried about Simmons as a threat, he can rotate for the steal, blowing up the whole offense. Harkless again is sagged into the lane, and it's an extra defender to clog everything up, so Harris has nowhere to go, and it forces him into an awkward brick. Without any gravity at all, it's got to be frustrating for his teammates to break free to the hoop, only to have Simmons' man take a mere one step over to pressure the shot into a miss or a blocked shot. Sometimes it's hard to tell just how frustrated the players are unless you're close to the action, so you should really make a point of getting to a game. If only there was somewhere to easily buy tickets.
SeatGeek.
I just wish there was a phone number or a website, no, a mobile app
SeatGeek.
that could search the internet for the best ticket prices for sporting events, concerts, and even the theater.
SeatGeek.
It would be awesome if you could see the vantage point from the seat.
Oh my God.
And use a number system to grade what kind of value you're getting.
SeatGeek.
You know what? It would make it perfect if someone could invent this and then give people $20 off their first purchase if they use a code related to my site. How about B-Ball?
Really?
Darn. I guess we'll just have to rely on these videos and whether Brett Brown can fix the real problem here, how they're using Simmons in the offense, and why it's causing his usage rate to plummet. With his free throw shooting woes, the Sixers as a group seem to want to keep it out of his hands, so the opponent can't get into Hack-a-Simmons mode and bank on his awful mechanics leading to misses from the charity stripe. So, he's relegated to a position I can only describe as 1980s power forward. Time and again, you'll see him drift to what we call the dunker spot on the weak side, the area near the block where his man can be in the lane ready to help but still be in legal guarding position an arm's length away. Watch how his utter lack of movement allows Harkless to freelance, particularly when the spacing looks as bad as this on the weak side. Both Nurkic and Aminu can easily cover for him as Harkless steals the pass and causes a fast break dunk for his team on the other end. On plays like this, down 2 with under 2 minutes left, it's mind-boggling to me that they're running a sideline out of bounds that calls for JJ Redick to come off a handoff and create off the dribble. This should be Simmons forcing the action here, with Redick spacing the floor. Instead, Simmons is watching the action like he's some role player, and Redick just gives him the ball for a fast break. I found an example where he wasn't hanging down by the basket out of the play, but this was no better, wandering out top without the ball, relying on Redick to be a dribble drive artist before hoping Harris could do something, and Butler having to burp up a heavily contested air ball in a tight game. In need of a quick 2 against Boston, it's literally 4-on-5 basketball, as Simmons hides down by the block again. And it's a testament to Butler's abilities that they still generate a great shot, plus the foul. There have been whispers about Brett Brown's coaching as well. Mike Scott fouling down 3 with 35 seconds left was head-scratching for Brett Brown as well, but it was his decision to intentionally miss this Simmons free throw down 2 with 10 seconds left that left everyone shaking their head. There's no question it's on Coach Brown to figure out a better way to get Simmons involved in the offense during the clutch, since fast break buckets will be harder to get in the playoffs and opposing defenses will have days to prepare. But I can't help but feel that in today's game, specifically with how they're using Simmons now, I fear it's going to always hold them back from deep playoff success.